Okay, everyone, it looks like we are at 3:30, so we will go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Project Lead the Way Updates webinar for Pennsylvania.
If someone could go into chat and just let us know that you hear us, that would be great.
Yep, just make sure everybody can hear us.
Yes.
Or if you have the yes, no button on your... Okay, great.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Okay, we are your Pennsylvania Directors of School Engagement. I'm Shannon Esposito. I am the Director of School Engagement for Eastern Pennsylvania and Delaware, and I have been a biomedical sciences master teacher for 11 years, and just recently started at this Director of School Engagement in January. So I'm really looking forward to meeting all of you that are in our area and working with you to help you grow your programs and in any other capacity that I can.
And I'm Sally Irwin, and I am the Director of School Engagement for the Western and Central portion of Pennsylvania. I started in this role with Project Lead the Way in July of last year. And I also was a Project Lead the Way biomedical science teacher for the past 11 years. I was a master teacher for medical interventions and biomedical innovations, and I also look forward to coming out and visiting schools and seeing your programs throughout this next year.
Mm-hmm. And we have our contact information here at the bottom of the screen. We also have it at the end of the PowerPoint. And Sally and I invite you to, call us, email us with any comments, questions, or concerns that you have. And like Sally said, we would love to come out and see your students in action and see your programs going. So please invite us out. We love to get out and see things rolling. Okay, today we are using Zoom for our meeting. You should have been muted, I believe, with your video muted as well when you came in. We just ask that those stay muted just so there's no feedback and weird noises. If you do have a question to ask us, please feel free to do so using the chat feature. If you don't see that chat feature up on the right-hand side of your screen, you can hover your mouse in the bottom and you should see the little menu pop up with that chat bubble underneath of it. We will address all the questions. We'll make sure we get back to you and everybody can hear everyone's questions. So if you're not monitoring that chat window, we will make sure that we let you know what questions were asked and what those answers are. So our agenda today does have a lot of topics in it, but we want to make sure we get you all the information you need. So we'll be talking about our updates to curriculum, training, and the new end-of-course assessment. We'll look at our programs and the recognition of our programs, as well as our teachers and educational leaders. And we'll look at student opportunities and grants. And then we'll wrap up at the end with talking about the MyPLTW roles, PLTW Summit 2019 and 2020, and our new Inspired Ed podcast. So to get started with our curriculum, the first that we're going to take a look at is our middle school gateway curriculum. Medical Detectives was updated, and we have been transitioning to the new curriculum this year. So currently, there is access to the old curriculum and the new curriculum. What is going to be happening this summer is that old curriculum is going to be going away. So if you were trained in the old curriculum, which would have been the summer of 2017 or earlier, please know that you will no longer have access to that curriculum as of the summer. We don't know the exact date, but it will happen at some point this summer. What you do need to do, if you were trained prior to 18, so if you're trained in 17 or earlier, you'll need to go back and complete the online update training through the MyPLTW portal. It is required training, and it is free, but it is 10 to 12 hours in length. And that is how you will get access to the new curriculum for the next school year. A few other curriculum updates. This year, we have been running 2 courses in beta. The first was our pre-K launch course that will be fully released in the 1920 school year. And our high school cybersecurity course was in beta, and that will also be released for the 1920 school year. Looking ahead for the next school year, we have 3 courses that will be in beta. For 3rd grade launch, we have 4 new modules that are going to be NGSS aligned, and those will be released again the following school year. So the whole network will have access to that in the 2021 school year. Same goes for our new High School Engineering's Essentials course. This course is one that is built to get a wider range of students interested and involved in engineering. So it's a little bit more for any student and every student who maybe has somewhat of an interest or isn't sure that they have an interest in engineering. It is one that can go before IED or could replace IED. Students after taking Engineering Essentials could also take POE and move on, from there. So lots of exciting stuff coming up for that new Engineering Essentials course. And then last but not least, we have the High School Computer Science Principles course. That course is one that is being kind of a rewritten course so that it aligns with the new Computer Science Principles course. Currently, the AP College Board is rewriting their CSP, and so we, in our partnership with them, have been working to rewrite our CSP course, and that way it's aligned, and our students are able to take and hopefully pass that AP CSP exam at the end. Two other announcements that we have for this coming year. Spanish curriculum is coming out for our Launch and Gateway courses. So our Launch and Gateway courses will have Spanish curriculum available. And there's nothing been said about it going into the high school. I know we've had a couple people ask if the high school courses are going to be translated to Spanish. As of right now, we have not heard anything about that. So currently, we have to say no, that it's not, but that doesn't mean that it never will. It's just not in the works at the moment. Big push for us, big deal, is that our launch is now going to be Chromebook compatible. So any launch schools or districts that are looking to implement launch that have Chromebooks already, we will be compatible with Chromebooks starting in this upcoming school year. There are only specific Chromebooks models that we are compatible with, and that link and the list can be found at the link that's at pltw.org/mypltwresources. And then all the tech specs for that, as well as all of our other programs, are all available at that same website. Training has changed, so I'm sure if you're still, or if you're either a master teacher, if you're a new teacher, or someone who has to go to a second course training, you've heard that training has changed, and it used to be in many cities all across the country, but we have now kind of narrowed it down to 16 hub cities around the country. After going through a lot of feedback, we wanted to make sure that trainings were consistent everywhere we had them, so holding it down to 16 hub cities was our best way to do that. This did allow us, though, to release the initial schedule of training earlier than we've ever done before. So that was a huge benefit, I think, to a lot of teachers for their planning, and so we're really excited about that. We also have a training guarantee that is starting this year. If you or a teacher in your district is trained this summer and any summer going forward, and then they leave the district within 3 years of earning that credit, and they go to another PLTW district, we will cover and give you a grant in the amount of the training fee so that your district can send another teacher to training for that same course so we don't disrupt the student learning. Okay, there's a couple links here for a video and PDF about the updates to training, and so when we share the video and the PowerPoint and stuff with you after the webinar, you'll be able to use those links to view a little bit more information about that. I see someone had a question about the closest training site to Western Pennsylvania. Baltimore, and then depending, I guess, on where exactly you are, Rochester, Indianapolis, those would be maybe, depending on how you would get there and the timing. Maybe even Boston, I guess, for some people. But this, if you go into pltw.org/hubs, you'll see these are the 16 hubs that we are currently using. And in our, we'll come back to that map in a second, but in our professional development page, if you go to core training, you're able to look for what courses are being offered at which hub. So if there's a specific course or if there's a specific program you're looking for, if you're looking for a specific location, you can narrow it down by 1, 2, or all 3 of those filters to find what course is being given at what city and what weeks those are given. Once you've found maybe a time frame for the course that you need that works for you, you can search, or maybe you find the location that's going to be best for you. You can go to this map and click on any one of these cities. And when you click on any one of those cities, you'll be taken to more information about those hubs. So for example, for Baltimore, if you clicked on the Baltimore on the map, you would see Stevenson University and University of Maryland, Baltimore County both pop up. For this instance, Stevenson has biomedical sciences and medical detectives at it, while University of Maryland, Baltimore County has engineering, launch, and gateway courses. So either of these links that you would click next would give you all of the information here on the right-hand side. And on the right-hand side, you'll see it talks about the fact that it'll tell you who to contact at the training site. It'll tell you the cost that the training will be, and this includes the tuition as well as the housing. So it'll let you know that either they're doing an on-campus housing or that they're going to be doing a hotel for their housing, or that you might have the option for both. If there is some deal for the housing, it would tell you what that deal rate is, and it would give you the link to be able to get that special rate. It'll also let you know what meals are provided and what meals are not, as well as information about parking and traveling in local area. And then, of course, it will tell you about the check-in at the location, when and where you should be able to, or where you would need to go to do your check-in and orientation. As I said, we do have more than just the in-person training. We have our online core training options available for specific courses. So if you're looking at that screen I showed you before where you can search for the trainings, one of the options was to search for location. So if you're looking for online trainings that are available, you could change that. Instead of it saying Baltimore, Maryland, or Rochester, New York, you could put virtual training in, and it would show you all the list of all the virtual trainings that are available. If you're looking for a specific training for a course, if you just chose the course, it would let you know if it had a virtual training listed in there. Those online core trainings are weekly, live, 2-hour meetings that are online. And on top of those 2-hour meetings, there is homework that is also asked of the participants to complete. So you're still doing the same amount of work and the same things that you would have done had you been at core training in the summer in person, but you're doing them on your own and doing the meetings through the online meetings. Teachers who are doing the online core training do have to be teaching the course that they're being trained in. And then just a heads up for cybersecurity this summer, when we do the training, it is a blended experience. So part of that is face-to-face, and then part of that will finish up online. Anytime that we have either a teacher who maybe leaves in the last minute and we need some just-in-time support, could be because they're switching districts or they're leaving teaching together. Maybe they're on a medical leave, or they might be going out for maternity, paternity leave, and we can't get someone into a summer core training. We do have the option to put them on a professional development plan. And that is a bi-weekly 60-minute live online meeting for them to ask and talk to master teachers and other teachers of their content knowledge, get help with the curriculum, help with pacing, lab preparation, all the stuff that might be a little tough for them to do without having gone to training already. This is great for those long-term substitutes as well, to get a little extra help from someone who has done this curriculum before. And then teachers who finish this PDP plan would need to attend summer core training in the following summer, or online training, when possible. Last but not least, we have the option for district transformation training for launch and gateway. So we can host up to 24 teachers per DTT, and the cost for each of those is a little different depending on what the district transformation training is in. For launch, all teachers have to be trained in classroom teacher training first. Once they've been trained in that, then they could be trained in lead teacher training. So depending on the number of teachers that you've had that have already been trained as launch classroom teachers, a lead teacher training might be great for you, and then they can move on and train other teachers from there. Gateway, our modules can all be done with the district transformation training. Again, that cost will vary depending on which module it is, because some are 5-day trainings and some are 3-day trainings. But again, those are up to 24 teachers. Okay, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and send, Sally, it's going to be you talking about the assessments. And so let me get you the control. All right, you should be good.
Great. All right, one of the most exciting things that Project Lead the Way has offered this year is our new assessment. Okay, Shannon.
Is it not working yet? There.
Oh, no, there we go. Okay. I think I just have to jiggle the mouse.
Okay.
Bear with us, everyone. This is our second webinar using Zoom. We did the first one at 11:30. So the new PLTW assessment is kind of neat because not only does it measure the course-specific knowledge that your students have gained through taking PLTW courses, but we're also attempting to measure the in-demand transportable skills such as collaboration, communication, creativity, critical thinking, ethical reasoning, and problem solving that, industry partners have said this is what is lacking in students when they come to either in the workforce, and college professors have also said this is something that really, we need to highlight. So some of the things that makes this PLTW assessment unique is that it's really grounded in the best thinking of higher education, industry, and secondary education. We made sure that it was technically sound and defensible. And we've come up with these innovative, authentic assessment items. So it's not just multiple choice. There's a lot of scenarios embedded in it. There's drop boxes that the students can move around. There's videos to watch. We've actually gotten a feedback that it was a fun test to take. And then again, like I said, it not only does it assess the subject matter knowledge at the high school level, but also these transportable skills that we all know are so critical. And then it will come with a new informative score report, and we'll talk a little bit about that next. So just to emphasize that this was just not something that Project Lead the Way dreamed up. We have collaborated with experts in various fields to participate in blueprint designs and to design the item panels for each of the test questions. There were over 104 different Project Lead the Way teachers at 84 different Project Lead the Way schools all across the country. We involved industry experts. We involved 41 different people who represented industries from 34 different companies. And we also involved higher education faculty and administrators. And we had 30 different experts from 25 different higher ed institutions. So one of, again, some things that are new is there's going to be more information for teachers and students. You are going to get a score report, and off to the right of the screen you can see a little bit of a score report that it's going to give you an actual raw score, which is the amount of points earned out of the total possible points. And I'll talk a little bit later what that raw score is really going to mean. And the reason why we're doing this is to really increase value to students. We have the capability for students to then send these scores to post-secondary institutions, which hopefully will be a value-added addition to students as they're looking for colleges to attend, and also to employers if these students are going right into the workforce. Okay, here we go.
I was going to say, I see them. They're there.
Okay. So some of the questions I've heard is, okay, we have this we had teachers give the end of course assessment back in December and January if they were on semesterized schedules. And in previous 5 or so years, we've given an end of course assessment that had a Stay9 score from 1 to 9. So we were like, well, now we have this raw score. What exactly does it mean? Well, Project Lead the Way is going to be sharing with the entire network what are called these concordance tables. And what they are it's a table that's basically going to link the raw score to the old Stay9 score so that you have an understanding of really, what this new test means. So for instance, if you look at the screen right here, there's 3 scores that are highlighted in blue. If the student scored an 11 as a raw score, that would translate to a 1 on the end of course Stay9 score, the 1 to 9 scale. If they scored a 15, it would translate to a 2. If they scored an 18, it would translate to a 3. Now, that being said, there is a concordance table for every single different type of assessment given. So, you know, if there are three different assessments in biomed, they each have a specific concordance table. I think there's 8 different assessments in engineering. Again, they're going to each have their own concordance table, and there's 4 different assessments in computer science with their own concordance table. We are trying to figure out when these concordance tables will be released. So if we can share them with you, we will do so after the webinar. Also, one of the things that Project Lead the Way is going to do, we are going to be able to share with you in the old 1 through 9 Stay 9 score. You knew that, like, say, I think it was 1 through 3 meant that the student was on a basic level of their knowledge. 4, 5, and 6 was a proficient, and 7, 8, and 9 was advanced. So they are going to take all the data that comes in after this first year of testing, which will be, the testing window will end on June 30th, and by August you should have information regarding that.
You get it, Sally? There it goes.
Okay, there we are. Okay, so here's a couple things that are extremely important. You will be getting an email with all of these links. If you have not already gotten one, these emails went out back in December for the folks that were going to be testing in December in the January window. But you can see that the platform that they're using to administer the exam is a Kite student portal. And the first thing you're going to need to do is whitelist the Kite student portal. There is installation guidelines for how to install the student portal on all the student devices, and there's, you know, a different set of instructions for each device that you use. There are support resources such as the Educator Portal User Manual, the Assessment Administration Manual, which has a little bit about the Information Assessment Tool Quick Start Guide and an end-of-course assessment quick start guide. And there is a Project Lead the Way end-of-course assessment training video. And from teachers that I have spoken to that have given the exam, one of the first things they did was watch that assessment video, and then it really gave them a step-by-step overview of all the steps that you need to take. You can't do this the night before you're going to give the assessment, so you do have to do a little bit of planning when you're doing this.
And I will interject too, the one thing that we have learned is that the student passwords and stuff to get into the test cannot be printed out the night before or the day before. You have to print those out the day of as well, and that's all in the video. So that's really an important thing to consider when you're preparing for this.
Okay. There also, here's just some highlights about if there are accommodations that need to be given to students. You will need to do a little bit of work ahead of time. If you have to give a paper and pencil test, you would need to notify the assessment team 2 weeks prior to administering the end of course. If you have to give a Braille test, we need a minimum of 4 weeks prior to administering the end of course exam. If you have any questions at all about the accommodations, you can email pltwassessment@pltw.org, and there is a help section in the PLTW Kite educational portal assessment resources section of your teacher guide in courses, which is in your My PLTW. And for this window of assessment that is happening this spring, we have provided webinars. So you should have gotten emails about these webinars. There's webinars at different times of the different days of the week, different times. I'd highly recommend that you register for a webinar. Anytime anything new comes out, it's definitely different, and it's always good to be prepared. So we are trying to help you guys with giving you a lot of information. So the next thing I really want to talk about is program recognition. For the past 2 years, we have recognized distinguished PLTW programs and schools, and we've also recognized distinguished PLTW districts. And here's just a nice little chart that explains to you, like, what do you need to do in order to be recognized as a distinguished program. So
hopefully not extinguished.
Not extinguished, sorry. So at the launch level, you have to offer a minimum of 2 modules per grade level and have 2 launch lead teachers in your building. 75% or more participate in a launch module. At the gateway level, there is a minimum of 1 gateway unit per grade. We want to have 50% participate in a gateway unit, or if you've had 25 of the students advance to high school that have participated in 2 or more units. And then at the high school level in either biomedical science, computer science, or engineering pathway, you would need to offer a minimum of 3 PLTW courses, and 25% of the student population would participate in a PLTW course, or 33% of the students who've taken the PLTW courses take 2 or more courses. And then there is a component as far as the assessment. 70% of the students or more need to earn proficient or higher on an EOC, or 10% or more of the students earn the AP plus PLTW recognition that we're going to talk about in a little bit. And we have on our next slide, is a list of all of the Pennsylvania programs over the last 2 years who have earned the distinguished school in their particular program, and we had one that earned actually a distinguished district, and some of them have done it, in multiple years. Okay. All right, we're done with that slide. Let's see. So we want to say thank you. Congratulations to all of the Pennsylvania programs that have applied for and have received distinguished recognition for their programs.
Absolutely. Congratulations to everyone.
Yes. Yeah. And then the last thing I want to talk about in my section here is we know that there are many outstanding teachers and educational leaders in our Pennsylvania network of PLTW teachers. So we would love to see them being recognized. There is a nomination process, and it is open until April 30th. You can visit the PLTW Outstanding Teacher portal and PLTW Outstanding Educational portal about information and how to nominate teachers and educational leaders. So hopefully some of our Pennsylvania people will be on the list this year.
Mm-hmm. And if you need help with any of that, please, if you think of someone that maybe, you're not sure how to do all of that, reach out to Sally and I. We would happy to help you, with any of that nominations as we can.
Okay, I'm going to turn it back over to Shannon to talk about student opportunities.
Okay. So what I wanted to make sure that we do is pull up a couple of great opportunities that we have for our students before we get to the end of the school year. Now is the time where we are really looking at having kids finish up with their end of course assessments, their AP tests, all of that. So as we look ahead, Project Lead the Way and the College Board have really formed a great partnership, and we want to make sure that as many of our students as possible who are taking an AP class or maybe a few AP classes and are in the Project Lead the Way programs are getting the recognition they deserve. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about some of the opportunities that are out there with colleges and universities for preferential admission, scholarships, and more. And we'll look at some of the great opportunities that are there for them to join organizations such as TSA, HOSA, VEX, Skills USA, and more. Okay. So first, before we go much further, next Friday, so about a week and a half from now, is the deadline for the 2019 PLTW Engineering Design Competition. And if anyone has any students who have a great engineering design, maybe an EDD project, Chevron, PLTW, John Deere, and FedEx are hosting this free design competition. So I just want to bring that to everyone's attention that you can find more information in My PLTW about this, and it would just be really great to see some of our students work, which I know we have some amazing students and talented ideas, and it's just incredible what I've seen so far in my short time. So I want to make sure we get as many of our students recognized as possible. This is something you can take your students to the website on. Our student opportunities section of our website has a search engine for it, a search filter, and both you and your students are able to access this through pltw.org. And here's where you can find all the opportunities that are out there for them. So there are 3 filters that you could use to find these opportunities. The first being a PLTW program, so biomedical sciences, engineering, gateway, whatever it might be. The second could be to filter by state, and then the third could be to filter by the opportunity. In the example I have pictured here, I just chose to filter by opportunity and got preferential admissions. So all the preferential admissions are listed for the state and the college or university, as well as what program that is there for. So a great thing for your students to look at, maybe even especially your sophomores and juniors are even great times, maybe even some freshmen to look at especially preferential admissions, but that just gives them an idea of what they want to work towards to the future if they aren't thinking about college yet, or they're just starting to think about college. Our next opportunity is looking at our AP and PLTW partnership. This one is something that helps us bring opportunities for all students to become college and career ready. So at this point in time, as students are preparing for the AP exams and their end of course assessments, they can go online to apandpltw.org to apply to get our PLTW AP recognition. What they need to do in order to get this recognition is take one AP class and score a 3 or higher on the AP exam, take one Project Lead the Way class and score a proficient or higher on the end of course assessment, and then a third course that would either be an AP course or a PLTW course with a qualifying score on either of those exams. Now, the only one I believe that counts as it being in different pathways is our computer science course. Sally, correct me, I'm drawing a blank on the one that it is that we talked about.
Computer science principles.
Principles, thank you. Computer science principles is one that is in both our engineering program and our computer science program. So if a student took an engineering course and computer science principles, while they're both in one pathway, they're also both in 2 separate pathways. Otherwise, I believe it would have to be in the same pathway for it to be an AP PLTW recognized recognition. The applications must be submitted by June 30th, and the students will learn about the status of their application in the fall. Now, we realize that end of course assessments and AP exams might not be done or given, the scores rather, would not be given to students before June 30th. And that's fine. As long as they have an application in, their scores should transfer, and the students will then learn about their status in the fall via an email and a certificate in that email congratulating them on their recognition. Then any colleges or universities that the student has given permission for the AP to send their test scores to, those colleges and universities will also receive the note that that student has received the AP and PLTW recognition. So it's nice that there's really not much else the students have to do aside from submitting that application online, and everything else is going to get sent to those AP test scores and colleges and universities and such. This is just a list of what those AP courses are and which AP courses count for which pathway. So as you'll see for biomedical sciences, AP Biology and AP Chem are the 2 that would count for the recognition. Computer science has principles and A along with either of our other 2 computer science courses. And then engineering has all of our engineering courses along with many of those AP college courses. And one of the things we're really proud of is the number of students that are achieving this special recognition. When we started this back in the 15-16 cohort, we had over 1,300 students receive the award, and 18 of those students received it in 2 pathways, both biomed and engineering. So computer science wasn't eligible yet at that time, but 18 of those were in both programs. The following year, we jumped to more than 3,000 students that were recognized with this achievement, and 75 of those students were recognized in both biomed and engineering. So huge jumps on both sides there. And then last year, we even got more students to be recognized with over 4,200 total recognitions, 4 in computer science, and then multiple recognitions of over 120 students. So we're really proud of those students and all that they've been working on. Also, as your students are thinking about the future, STEM Premier is a partner that we've had for quite some time now. And so some of you may have your students have their profiles in STEM Premier. STEM Premier has now changed to the company called Tallo. So it is the same company. Everything is the same. The only thing they changed was their name and their colors. And this is because they kind of went a little bit broader in their platform, and they're a little more all-inclusive. So it's not just STEM curriculum anymore. But Tallo is really, they put talent and locator and shoved them together to make Tallo. So nothing else has really changed except the name. If your students already have a STEM Premier account, their login and usernames are all the same, passwords, all that. That hasn't changed. So the only thing that they'll see now is instead of it saying STEM Premier login, it'll say Tallo login, which they're able to do from their MyPLTW accounts. If your students don't have a Tallo or STEM Premier username and password yet, this is something that would really be great to look into with your students. They can create their own digital resume. Everything here is free for them. And it's a great way for them to partner with college and industry, and it connects the colleges and industries to them and vice versa. They can upload activities, videos, files, resumes, credentials, test scores, you name it. And so it's a really great option for our students and another way to help them network and move their future forward. All right, Sally, back to you for grants.
Okay.
And you should have control.
All righty. Okay, we do offer quite a few grants through Project Lead the Way in partnership with our industry partners. Our grant season really begins in August, so anybody who has applied for a grant, that application will become invalid as of July 31st, so you would need to fill out a new application grant beginning in August. You can find out, I would suggest that you would frequently go back and check the pltw.org website. Under Experience PLTW, there'll be a grant button, and you'll be able to see what industry partners are offering grants, and any of the industry partners really have set the exact specifications of the grants for us. We don't do that. So some industry partners want to offer grants to schools within a 10-mile radius of where they're located. Some would be in a 30-mile radius. Some have a partnership through a particular school and they want to go right to them. So again, we post the opportunities, and if you have a grant application on file, our grants people will do everything possible to try to match you to that grant application. How you apply for a grant application is you would go into your MyPLTW account, and on the landing page, there'll be a grants button highlighted in red here, and you can go ahead and just click on that, and it'll tell you how to start a grant application. And it'll just walk you through it pretty nicely.
Mm-hmm.
So our next slide.
And Sally, I'll just go back to you for one second.
Okay.
I believe you said it, but just to reiterate, that does start in August. You want to make sure you double check that.
Yes.
I think you said that, but I just want to make sure we reiterate to double check and restart those in August.
Yes. And, and anytime a new one comes available, you don't have to reapply for the grant if it happens to be in your area. As many of you know, Governor Wolf has started the PA SMART grant this past year. Project Lead the Way was listed as an approved program by the PA Department of Education. If you applied for a targeted grant, you would have had to have filled out the I forget what it was called. There were ones that were approved through PADOE, and then if you wanted to apply for others, you needed to just fill out that form of the grant application. If you applied for a targeted grant this this year, I think almost every school district that applied or every school that applied for a targeted grant received that targeted grant of $35,000. There were advancing grants up to $500,000, and most of them went to IUs. They were looking more for like partnerships, how people in areas were going to support each other. We have found that, the grants will be available again in the fall of 2019. If you have any questions at all, I know we wrote verbiage to help people fill out their targeted and advancing grant applications. So we had, a lot of schools worked with us, and, they're either starting Project Lead the Way because of the PA Smart Grant, or they're expanding their Project Lead the Way offerings because of the PA Smart Grant. So again, you can ask us more information on that. So I just kind of want to talk a little bit about my PLTW roles and how important they are. This is the way, like, if you today, to be invited to this webinar, we sent it out to program coordinators and site coordinators, and then we sent another listing to teachers. So some people are in my PLTW and they don't have a role assigned to them, so they would never have heard about, our webinar today, or maybe many of the other opportunities that come along the way through Project Lead the Way. But a program coordinator has the most authorization as a role. It's responsible for the overall account, site, and classroom management for the school district. If you're starting just at a school, it could be just at that school. They have the authorization to remove sites and programs, select the site coordinators, manage the users. They need to complete the annual renewal forms and participation surveys, and every account is required to have 2 program coordinators. The site coordinator is usually someone that's more school-based, and we would recommend that you have up to 2, but you need at least 1 site coordinator. And then teachers are responsible for making sure the students have access to the curriculum, publishing the curriculum for the students, administering the end of course exams, and they can access their own classroom EOC results. They can upload student rosters for courses that don't have an end of course exam. And then the general user role is someone who supports the Project Lead the program, such as an IT person or a purchasing agent, or perhaps your school or district might have a grant manager that would fall under that role. We also want to let you know that the dates for the Project Lead the Way summits for this coming school year have been announced. We're in Kansas City, November 10th through the 12th, San Antonio, November 17th through the 19th, Anaheim, January 31st to February 2nd in 2020, and in Indianapolis, February 8th through the 10th. If you've never been to a Project Lead the Way summit, it is an amazing professional development opportunity. We have lots of great speakers, great programs, great opportunity to collaborate and meet other people in your network. We did have a group of students from Fraser High School in Perryopolis present in Indianapolis. They got to tell their Project Lead the Way story, and the closing general session on the last day of the summit, and it was just a great opportunity for these students, and I think it put Pennsylvania on the map for Project Lead the Way. Mm-hmm. So think about it. Also, we are in the process of calling for proposals for the Project Lead the Way Summit. They are due by April 30th. If you are a presenter, you will get a discount on registration. There's just a lot of great reasons why you would want to present here, and there's a lot of great reasons to go to the summit. So if you have just a neat story to tell, or just the way you've implemented your program in your school district, a lot of people like to find that out, or if you have an interesting business or community partnership, or you do something that enhances your curriculum somehow, we'd love to hear your stories. Another new thing that has just been released since January is our new podcast called Inspire Ed. It's a great opportunity to tell stories of educators that are in the classroom. There have been students that have done it, or community leaders that are really making an impact in their schools and communities. And like every episode kind of leaves you a little bit inspired, and gives you some practical insights that you can really take back to your classroom, share in your communities, or even at home around your kitchen table. So I would highly recommend that you check out our podcast, and you can see, I think we're on podcast 7 now, right?
Yes, we are on podcast 7. Yes.
So this just, again, gives you some information about us and how you can contact us. The next one is what we've done with this slide is all of the links that we've had throughout this PowerPoint presentation you can find here, housed on one slide. And we're going to open it up for questions right now.
Mm-hmm.
So,
oops. If anyone has any in particular.
Okay. So what I'm seeing a lot of, and I hear this, and it, is the lack of training, I guess, that is closer to Pennsylvania.
The training hubs, yeah,
There they
keep coming.
Yes.
We know.
So I guess the reason why, Project Lead the Way went with this is because when they had over 55 training hubs throughout the United States, the quality of the experience and the quality of everything, right down to like, if you were in a dorm where you provided toilet paper the first day, things like that. They were just all over the place. So people certainly would go out and with their feelers and say, I have to take this course this summer. Where would you recommend we go? So what they tried to do is streamline it so that we make sure that everybody gets a positive experience. Also, the reason why they chose hubs is because while it would be great, like for example, in Pennsylvania, Bucknell was one of the affiliate universities. It was probably very convenient, sort of located kind of in the middle of the state that people from both sides could get to it. But if a session didn't fill up and now we have people from around the country that need to get to Bucknell, that was kind of a little bit more difficult because, we're flying into Philly or Pittsburgh, and now we're going to try to, get to this site. Also, what they wanted to do for training is they wanted to be able to give teachers some kind of industry experience. So at your training, you might have an industry partner come in and speak to you about things, that are going on in the industry that you can take back to your students in the classroom, or you might actually have a training site that is near, some industry that has a very close affiliation to what you're teaching, and you'll be able to get some more, hands-on experience again to increase your knowledge and also take it back to the classroom. We have one of our roles being like the boots on the ground kind of people is to take the feedback we hear from the field and make sure that we're sending it to the right people. So we are telling people, in Indianapolis that we would, this is an issue. Especially, I think the biggest issue we're hearing is along the lines of computer science, because most of the other courses are offered in the Baltimore area. And I know from the Pittsburgh area, it's probably a 4.5 hour drive.
Yeah.
If you're in the Philly central area, that's a lot more convenient for you to get to. But there is no computer science at the Baltimore hub. So the nearest one for everyone to go to in Pennsylvania would be Boston.
Mm-hmm.
So we understand that.
Yep. We're pushing. We keep every time we hear from someone, we send it up the chain, so that they know that there's a lot of people asking about it. I know.
And as far as I'm sorry. I just saw another one about the summits.
That's what I was going to, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So the reason why Baltimore was canceled, it was due to lack of enrollment. But when when they were able to cancel that Baltimore Summit, but the other 4 areas, they're the same as last year because they signed 2-year contracts. So we are, set for next year at those 4 sites.
Mhm.
And Vince, Dr. Bertram, who is our CEO, has, alluded to that there would probably be a site on the East Coast that is going to be a little bit more convenient to people. But, I don't know if it's going to be in the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic, or the South, but so, we do try to listen to what people are saying and
Accommodate as needed.
yeah.
2 other things that I wanted to mention. I know someone had asked about the Engineering Essentials course. It is, just to reiterate this, it's not a replacement for IED. It is just an additional course that's being added to engineering. Now, we found that some schools felt that, and it was true, that we were maybe missing a couple of engineering students because of math, or that IED was a little too hard for them, or it was, a couple of things here. And so with Engineering Essentials, it's kind of taking the topics and spreading them out a little bit differently, making it a little bit broader and more generalized as far as, some of the content and ways that we can hook all kids into engineering. And then from there, they're able to choose their pathways. So Engineering Essentials is not meant to replace IED, although it could be taken in lieu of IED if you wanted to offer Engineering Essentials instead of it. But it is just another engineering course that is out there. And then IED should be getting an update to it in the following year or 2 after Engineering Essentials is betaed and released. So that is something that.
Yeah, and I can't say this with any certainty, but when cybersecurity came out, the training for cybersecurity was 1 week face-to-face, 1 week online. So I know they're looking more at blended models. I can't say that's going to happen in Engineering Essentials. We don't know, but I'm sorry if Shannon already said this, but IED, as our Introductory to Engineering Design course, was quite challenging for certain students, and for some instances it may have turned them off to wanting to be an engineer. So that was kind of the what precipitated us having like more of a overview of engineering, which was an Engineering Essentials course.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's going to give you a really good overview of all the different types of engineering, and it might hook more students in to want to be engineers in the future if they weren't just focused on, almost like a college level introductory engineering course.
Mm-hmm. I also see a question about the end of course exam and preparing students for that. There should be, and Sally, correct me if I'm wrong, there should be the end of course assessment outline that tells you how many questions are coming from each unit as far as content knowledge goes. We still have those in?
I believe so,
right?
Yes.
Okay. So those should be in the curriculum and the teacher resources under assessments. I will double check and make sure we kind of put that into our notes when we send out the PowerPoint, because we will be sending out this PowerPoint and recording along with some notes and answers to questions that maybe came from the other session we had, etc. But then there are some, once you get into the KITE and get that portal set up and get through that, again, the training and the webinars that are coming up about the EOC will give you a lot more information on sample questions and exactly kind of what topics will be on there. Again, those transportable skills, though, are something that we know are going to be on there. That's just the basics of the ability to collaborate, communicate, work together with teams, all those things. So not much that we can say other than that as far as what's on each of the end of course assessments.
So, and just to because we both were
is that what they're
teachers in the biomed course, I would say, for me, I think the best way to get my students prepared for the end of course exam was to cover the content as much as possible, and that's it. I think when I would give my students and you always get kind of towards the end of the semester or the end of the year, and you're like, oh, I didn't cover this, and then you try to hit just the highlights. But I always, at the end of a EOC exam, I would always ask my students, what did you think? And they never felt like it was unfair because we did try to, get through everything to the best of our, ability. And, you don't, Project Lead the Way would love you. We understand by teaching in a activities, project, and problem-based format, it takes a lot longer than if you were just direct lecturing, which, is nobody learns that well doing that way. But the more you can show fidelity to the way APB is taught and get through as much as the curriculum as possible, I think your students will be prepared. And depending on what you're teaching, they're in the community, which is the ongoing training portal, you can just pose a question. How do you get your students ready for your EOCs? And I'm always amazed at how teachers are so generous. They've prepared these nice study guides and they're willing to share them. At least that's how it was always in biomed. So I would look at different study guides that I would come across and, use them as I saw fit. So there were different ways to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And it looks like we had another question about maybe considering offering courses as a semester rather than the full year. That's always up to the school and their district and how they can schedule it in there. I completely agree that sometimes a semester course is so much easier for students because they can't take the year-long programs because of other scheduling issues or things don't fit in. But yeah, it absolutely could be a semester class. It really is dependent upon your school and your scheduling. So whoever is in charge of scheduling at your school or your district, I would definitely talk to them about being able to make one of your courses or a couple of or all of your courses semesterized. So, anything else from anyone before we end this meeting? And I just want to reiterate, if you do have questions, if as you're going through stuff over the next few months, you have questions, comments, concerns, please, once again, don't hesitate to reach out to Sally or I. We will happily get back to you as soon as we can. Invite us out. We love to come out, especially if you do like senior ceremonies and you have students present their projects. I love seeing what the kids have worked on. There's some awesome stuff out there, and we love to brag about how great Pennsylvania is.
Yes, and Shannon and I, since we actually have known each other for the last 11 years. We sat next to each other at the very first biomed training we ever went to.
It'll be 12 years in July.
Yes. So we're really excited to work together in Pennsylvania, and we definitely want to get out and hopefully do something like this, maybe at face-to-face, work with the IU unit. So any suggestions you have to, get us out there, and if you through this you say, hey, yeah, we want you to come on out, right. Just email us. We will get out.
Yeah, I love it. You are so welcome. We are happy to do whatever we can.
Yes.
At any point in time. So you're more than welcome for the information and the time. And yes, PA, greatest Commonwealth in the Union. Ooh, yes. I don't know. I grew up in Virginia originally, but I was born outside of Philly.
Pennsylvania. So. I grew up in Bethlehem.
It's okay. I'm an Eagles Phillies fan, so I bleed green and red in the springtime. I'll go with that.
That might not go really well with the western half of the
I know, but all right. Well, thank you all for joining us. And again, don't hesitate to reach out as needed.
Okay. Thanks very much, everyone.
All right.
I hope you're enjoying this spring weather.
Yes. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.